is Alexandria Abrahano, or Teacher Drea, who will tell us all about the ways that we can manage our child's behaviors. Teacher Drea graduated cum laude from De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute in 2024. She is also a trained Talk Tools Level 1 oral placement therapy clinician. Teacher Drea is a pediatric occupational therapist dedicated to creating a fun atmosphere in therapy for neurodivergent kids. The secret is knowing the right techniques to manage their behavior and maximize their enjoyment, and she is excited to share them all with us. So, once again, let us welcome Teacher Drea.
Hi, thank you. Wait, let me just share my screen. So again, thank you for that introduction. Hi again, everyone, and welcome. Today we'll be exploring behavioral modification techniques, and I will be giving you some strategies that can help us better understand and shape the behavior. So just a little thing about me. Again, my name is Alexandria Abrahano, OTRP. So I graduated from De La Salle Medical and Health Sciences Institute last June 2024, and I passed the occupational therapist's licensure examination just last December 2024. And I'm also Talk Tools Level 1 trained for oral placement therapy. In this topic, we will cover 6 areas. So first, we will define what behavior modification is, and then we'll distinguish between sensory-based behaviors and behavioral responses. And then we will learn how to analyze behaviors using the ABC model. After that, we'll review some behavioral modification techniques that are for teaching and learning. And then I'll also give you some more behavioral modification techniques. And then finally, we'll walk through a sample case that will apply these strategies. So let's begin. First, let's define what behavior modification is. So behavior modification is the use of learning principles to change behavior. It is an approach designed to decrease undesired behaviors while increasing purposeful and functional behaviors through reinforcement and structured learning. So usually one of the biggest challenges when working with children is to determining whether a behavior is either sensory driven or behavior driven. And here we have a table to help us understand. I'll just zoom in here. Yeah, okay. So when a child is showing these behaviors such as screaming, kicking, shouting, stomping, swearing, biting, throwing, or even hitting, it can either be sensory-based or behavior-based. So if it's a sensory-based meltdown, usually the child does not care if anyone is paying attention, and it is a reaction to either sensory overload or they're feeling very overwhelmed. This behavior will persist even without an audience and will only stop once the child has calmed down or through co-regulation. Usually, they will also show autonomic nervous systems such as they will have red ears, sweating, and dilated pupils. Now, if this behavior is a behavior-based meltdown, usually because they want something, so it's driven by a want or a goal. Often, the child will check to make sure that you are paying attention to their behavior, and the behavior will end automatically once they get what they want. So, usually, wala masyadong autonomic nervous systems here. So, asking questions like, does the behavior come out of nowhere, or is it linked to frustration or emotional triggers, can help us guide our approach. Now, why do children exhibit behavior? So, behavior always serves a purpose. It can either be due to seeking attention, it can be to trying to gain access to tangible items, can be due to escape or avoiding tasks, or just seeking specific sensory stimulations. And how can we distinguish these behaviors? Here we have the ABC model. So, A is the antecedent or the event or what happens before the behavior. B is the observable behavior. and C is the consequence or what happens after. So let's see an example here. My dad asked me to wait. So that is the letter A. My dad asked me to wait. So when it comes to the behavior for letter B, the child can either throw his toys or wait. And after that, if the child decides to throw his toys, then the dad will keep his toys away from him. But if the child decides to wait, then the dad can reinforce the behavior by playing together. So by examining these three components, we can identify different patterns and develop or use the effective intervention strategies. Now we move on to teaching and learning strategies. So when we say teaching and learning, it means that we use these behavior modification techniques to shape student behavior rather than just correcting it. So we often use techniques such as positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, modeling, shaping, chaining, prompts and cues, and also token economy. So these methods help build desired behaviors rather than simply correcting the undesired ones. First, let's talk about reinforcements. So reinforcements are used to strengthen behavior. So when a desired behavior increases because of something added or removed, then reinforcement has occurred. Now, to make it more clear, we have two types. We have the positive and we also have the negative. If it's positive reinforcement, it involves adding something. So we add something reward like a praise, or we can give a treat to increase the desired behavior of the child. And on the other hand, if it's negative reinforcement, it involves removing an unpleasant stimulus, such as stopping a difficult task when a child asks appropriately. So both of these increase the likelihood of the desired behavior. Yan. Here's a visualization between the difference of positive and negative reinforcement. So when we are using positive reinforcement, let's say yung goal natin is to increase compliance with writing tasks. If positive reinforcements, we are adding. So here's our keyword, adding. We are adding something that they want para mag-increase yung behavior. So for example, I will give a new toy or additional playtime if the child finishes the task. And then for negative reinforcement, we are removing an unpleasant stimulus or yung something na ayaw nila. For example, to increase compliance with writing tasks, I will not ask you to sweep the floor. Kasi example natin is, let's say, ayaw nila na sweeping the floor yung chores nila. So if they do this task, we can use this, we can remove that chore or unpleasant stimulus para mas lalo mag-increase yung behavior nila and ma-finish nila tong goal natin. So here we have just a quick pass by lang tayo dito sa acquisitional frame of reference. This acquisitional frame of reference views occupational performance problems as difficulties in learning specific skills rather than problems caused by the underlying factors. So it is grounded in behavioral and cognitive behavioral learning theory, meaning that learning occurs through reinforcement, practice, and feedback, making the behavioral modification techniques essential in occupational therapy. So we can use different behavioral modification techniques such as the reinforcements. We will also learn about the chaining, the shaping, prompts and cues, and token economy. Now let's look at more behavioral modification techniques such as now let's look at more BMTs using these teaching learning strategies. So when we say teaching and learning, these are just some BMTs that can be used for teaching and learning, basically, rather than just correcting the behavior. So first, we will talk about shaping. So with shaping, this involves teaching new skills gradually. So ito yung keyword natin dito, gradually, by reinforcing small steps that move closer and closer to the target behavior. So basically, we will reward the client for small steps that are closer to the final goal, even if they are not perfect yet. So as the client improves, magbibigay lang tayo ng reinforcement for more accurate or advanced approximations. Let's give an example. So if we are going to teach handwriting, so ang target behavior natin is writing the full name clearly. So for example, it can simply begin if the child holds the pencil correctly, then we can give a reinforcement. We can give a praise like, very good for holding the pencil correctly. And then next, if they're able to trace the first letter, then we can also give a reinforcement. If nakapag-print or write sila ng first letter independently, then we will also reinforce that. If they're able to print two letters and then prints the full name, then we will give reinforcement. So each step is reinforced until the child can write their full name. So ganun tayo mag-shaping. If naman, let's say another thing is we're increasing time on task or attention, we want the child to have a longer attention span, then we can start with 2 minutes of focus. So for example, 15 minutes yung goal natin. Start tayo sa 2 minutes muna na goal. So if they're able to reach 2 minutes of attention dun sa task, then we will give a reward. So then after nan, 5 minutes, reward 10 minutes, hanggang sa ma-reach natin yung 15 minutes. So, we will gradually increase expectations until the child can sustain attention for the full goal. So, why does shaping work? Bakit natin ginagamit si shaping? Well, first is shaping reduces frustration because the client earns early success. Now, so it can also support motivation through frequent reinforcement, which makes more complex tasks seem more manageable for children. It can work especially well with children with cognitive challenges. Then we have training. So with training, we use this to teach complex skills by breaking them into smaller steps. Training is commonly used in OT, especially when teaching ADLs, motor tasks, self-care routines, and or motor sequences. So usually training works by breaking a small complex task into small ordered steps. So dito we will do a task analysis. Ano ba yung activity natin? Let's say we will put on a t-shirt. So first we will see ano ba yung kailangan natin, ano ba yung first, second step sa pagsuot ng t-shirt. So that's task analysis. And then i-break natin siya one at a time. So hindi natin siya ibibigay agad. Hindi lang natin siya, hindi lang natin ibibigay yung t-shirt agad sa child. So first, tutulungan natin siya sa first step. Oh, this is the first step. Get mo muna yung t-shirt sa, let's say, sa cabinet. And then second step, let's try to look at the holes muna. So more on those, i-break lang natin yung the complex skills by breaking them into smaller steps. So training each mastered step with the next until the full sequence is performed. So basically, one at a time muna tayo with training. So with this one, meron tayong different types of training. Meron tayong forward, backward, and total task. So start tayo with the forward training. Basically, in forward training, the client learns the first step of the sequence. So once mastered, then they will learn yung step 2, and then step 3, and so on. So yung OT or yung caregiver will perform the remaining steps. So ibig sabihin nun, first step ng task si child ang gagawa, and then the rest may tutulong na sa kanya. So this is useful for clients who benefit from early independence and a clear starting point. Now, sa backward training naman, baliktad naman. So the client will learn the last step first. So for example, si OT or si caregiver, he or she will help with the step 1 until second to the last step. Si client naman or si child will complete the final step. And then reinforcement comes immediately after the last step para mas maging motivating dun sa bata. So this is useful for clients who need quick success and often yung mga children or individuals that struggle with frustration tolerance. Now we have total task training. So this one naman, the client attempts every step. So in the sequence during each trial. So the OT provides assistance anywhere needed. Basically, the client can do the full sequence, but may need some assistance or help with some steps. Now, para saan po ba yung training? How do we use this one? So training will help learn complex multi-step daily skills. It reduces yung cognitive load by breaking tasks into more manageable pieces. It can also build routine, structure, and independence. And perfect fit siya for the acquisitional frame of reference because it focuses on learning specific skills through structured and guided practice. Ayan. So let's look at an example. Let's say target skill natin is putting on a t-shirt. So if we are going to use backward chaining, this is what will happen. So first, if backward chaining, yung OT or yung caregiver will help position the shirt and assist with the head and arms. And then the client will complete the last step only, which is ipo-pull down niya yung shirt. If na-pull down niya yung shirt, then saka tayo magbibigay ng reinforcements such as, good job for pulling down your shirt. And then the next session, let's say the client will complete the last two steps naman. So which is pulling your shirt down and pulling your arm through. So with this one, the child completes the final step and is given reinforcement, and gradually mag-a-add tayo ng steps until the full task is done independently. Here we have another example. So this one is washing hands. We will be using forward chaining with this one. So first, iti-teach mo natin yung first step, which is, let's say, turning on the faucet. If they're able to do this one, then reinforce natin. So very good. So next one, we can also add the first and the second step. So for example, if the child is able to turn on the faucet and wet his or her hands, then we will reinforce it. So we will just continue to add the next step until the entire sequence is mastered. Now, moving on tayo sa prompts and cues. So, if nag-feedback si therapist sa inyo, baka naririnig niyo palagi at mommy or daddy, nagbigay po kami ng verbal prompts. I gave physical assistance. So, ito po siya. So, ano ba yung difference ng prompts and cues? Pag sinabi nating prompt, it is a direct or added support to guide a person toward the correct response. Si cues naman is an environmental signal or hint. So we are hinting at the correct action without providing yung direct answer. So yun yung difference ni prompts and cues. So it is useful and to help the client successfully initiate, perform, or complete the task. With this one, our goal is always to fade them over time. So ayaw natin na maging dependent sila sa prompts natin and sa cues. Kasi nga yung goal natin is for them to become independent. And now we also have mga different prompts and cues. So baka naririnig nyo, binigyan na po namin, nag-model po ako sa kanya, binigyan ko po siya ng verbal prompts, verbal cues. So, then dito po siya. So we have 6 that I will be discussing. So physical, gestural, modeling, verbal, visual, and environmental cues. Okay, start tayo with the physical or tactile prompts. So this is, for example, hand over hand assistance, guiding the child's hand, or we will help with the positioning. So this is used when the client cannot perform the movement without initial physical guidance. So if meron silang difficulty sa task initiation, then ginagamit rin talaga natin sa physical prompts. This can teach early steps in training and also supports client with motor planning difficulty. Now, with gestural naman, these are your nonverbal signals. So, for example, magpo-point ka to an item, you are nodding toward the correct choice, and then pwede rin gumamit ng hand motion such as, okay, hand motion, motioning to turn the page. Gestural and nonverbal signals is used when the client understands visual information. So we use this one if we want to avoid giving too much verbal prompts or verbal input, I mean. Then we have modeling. So modeling is basically demonstration. So, for example, demonstrating how to zip a jacket or showing the order of steps during cooking or demonstrating a yoga pose. So this is used when we are teaching motor sequences or supporting children or visual learners. With verbal cues, we have general and specific. If it's general, we often say, "Oh, let's try again," or "What comes next?" or "Maybe you can check your work." And then if it's specific, then we can say things like, "Let's pick up the blue block," or "Can we use your left hand?" So those are the verbal cues that we give to the children. So it is used when the child or the client benefits from clear instruction. It is also working on cognitive skills, attention, or sequencing. Now we have visual cues. So with this one, for example, mayroon tayong mga written checklists or visual timers for transitioning or pictures showing yung mga steps such as for hand washing. And then this is used naman for client that benefits from structure and predictability. Usually visual cues supports executive functioning skills, especially for children with autism with or ADHD or even people with memory deficits. So we usually use the visual cues. Now with last one, with the environmental cues. So for example, with this one, we will place the toothbrush in hand when it's time for brushing. Or if dressing yung target natin, we set out the clothes in the proper order. We can also use contrasting colors for more visual clarity. So environmental cues are used to reduce the cognitive load and supports orientation or dementia-friendly environments or independence in our activities of daily living. So discuss ko lang real quick yung hierarchy of prompts and cues, which is a systematic approach if magtuturo po tayo ng skill. So starting with the most intrusive assistance and gradually fading to the least intrusive. Basically, the goal is to ensure that the learner's success while promoting independence. So we will start with first with the independent or no assistance. So this is the ultimate goal for children, completing the activity on their own without any help. We encourage independence by giving them the opportunity to try it first. And then if we will give verbal cues. We start with simple verbal instructions or reminders. We offer clear, concise guidance to help children understand what needs to be done. When verbal cues are not enough, then we can use visual aids like pictures or step-by-step charts to illustrate yung process. Visual cues can be particularly helpful for younger children. Now, with gestural cues naman, this is used to enhance understanding. So we can use gestures like pointing or nodding or mimicking the desired action. So these cues can make the task more relatable and more engaging. And then we have modeling. So sa modeling, we demonstrate the activity and have the child, uh, with this one, we demonstrate the activity or have the child watch someone else perform the activity. So with this one, yung visual demonstration is a powerful way for children to learn and begin to imitate. And then we have partial or guided participation. With this one, we offer hands-on assistance, providing support as the child performs the task. So this level allows you to gradually shift responsibility from yourself to the child. And lastly, we have the full physical. So this one is dependent na. In some cases, children may still need to complete physical support to complete an activity such as hand-over-hand assistance. Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to token economy. So with this one, as the name explains, token, basically we use token points or stickers as a reinforcement that can later be exchanged for a reward. So this system, or if we use this one, this builds motivation and also teaches delayed gratification. So this is a reinforcement systems where tokens are given for targeted behaviors. So how does it work? One, i-define muna natin yung target behavior. So ano po ba yung gusto natin ma-achieve? Gusto po ba natin na mag-follow sila ng direction? So if that is our goal, the next, select tayo ng token. Ano ba yung gusto nila? Mahilig ba sila sa stickers? Mahilig sila sa stars? Do they like animals or happy face? So, titignan din natin yung tokens based din sa kung ano yung interest nila para mas ma-motivate sila. Then after nan, magde-decide tayo sa reinforcement schedule. So, kailan ba natin ibibigay itong token? Will we give it every time the behavior occurs or after a set number of behaviors? So usually kapag first time gagawin or we want the child to experience more motivation, we give the tokens every time the behavior occurs. Ayan. So, specify rin natin yung reward. So, if na-complete niya na, let's say, Monday to Friday, naka 1 token siya. So, overall, 5 tokens yun. The child can exchange this for a desired item or activity. Let's say, makakuha siya ng toy or he or she will be given extra playtime. And then after that, we have to reinforce and track. So, reinforce natin yung behavior and then track. We can track the progress visibly for motivation. So, let's say, for example, this month, so week 1, complete siya ng 5 stars. Pwede natin siya i-display sa wall para makita na siya na, okay, I was able to finish week 1. For this week, I should also be able to finish getting 5 stars so I can also receive a prize at the end of the week. So, medyo ganun po siya. And then, afterwards, kailangan din natin siya i-fade eventually. So, slowly replace natin yung tokens with natural reinforcers para hindi din sila maging dependent on doing the behavior just for the reward itself. So, why do we use token economies? Basically, this encourages participation in the sessions. It also teaches functional skills and helps with behavioral regulation. It can motivate clients who are otherwise unresponsive to verbal praise alone. It can provide measurable data on the behavior change and support skill acquisition in small reinforced steps. And then we have token economy examples. So, for example, if your goal is to the child will brush his or her teeth independently. So let's say if step 1, na pick up nila yung toothbrush. So very good, we can give 1 sticker. And then the next step, if they're able to apply the toothpaste independently, then we can give a sticker. And then if they're able to brush their teeth and rinse and put away. So if nakakuha sila ng 5 stickers, then they will get the extra playtime. Then, same goes with, let's say, trying to increase attention. So if they're able to focus on a task for 5 minutes, we can give 1 token. If it's for 10 minutes, 2 tokens. So, for example, they're able to get 4 tokens, then we can choose their preferred activity. So let's say, okay, in sessions, naka-focus ka for 15 minutes. I'll give you a break. What do you want to do or what toy do you want to play? So that's basically the reward. So so that's how token economy works. Now we move on to other behavioral modification techniques. So when we say this, when we say other, it means that it is mainly for correcting behaviors and hindi na siya masyado on the teaching and learning part, no. So first we have planned ignoring. So this is used to reduce attention-seeking behaviors by removing attention from inappropriate actions while reinforcing appropriate alternatives. Remember that safety is always our priority for this one. So how does planned ignoring work? First, we will identify kung ano yung target behavior natin. So for example, during therapy, my child or the child keeps shouting for attention. So with planned ignoring, basically, we withhold natin yung attention, we will ignore them. So avoid yung eye contact, avoid giving verbal responses, or any other form of acknowledgement. And then, let's say, if after niya mag-shout, bigla siya nag, teacher, or look at me, let's say, nagbigay siya ng ganun na behavior, automatic, i-reinforce natin yon. So very good for calling me instead of shouting. So that's how planned ignoring works. So, of course, we have to ensure safety. So, i-ignore lang natin yung behaviors that are safe. So, when pag meron ng behaviors na may hitting na, then we will not use this planned ignoring. Okay, let's give an example. So, for planned ignoring, let's say our target behavior is to stop the child from throwing toys. So, if nag-throw siya ng toy during at the house or at the therapy session, we will not react and then remove natin yung attention natin sa kanila temporarily. If naman nag-show sila ng alternative behavior, for example, after no, nag-ask na sila politely for the toy, then we can give immediate praise and reinforcement. So the same applies sa disruptive comments here sa group setting. So for example, sa group setting, may child or teen na nag-make ng sarcastic comment para lang ma-disrupt yung group activity. So we will not acknowledge that comment. But however, if they're able to contribute, if na, let's say, nag-comment sila, but yung comment nila is appropriate naman dun sa group topic, then we can give a verbal praise or token. So why do we use this planned ignoring? This reduces attention-maintained behaviors without using punishment. So it encourages clients to use appropriate ways to gain attention and can help support self-regulation and independence. So we can use planned ignoring with other BMTs such as token economies, shaping, and prompting. So reminders ko lang if we are going to use planned ignoring is that consistency is very critical. So everyone must ignore the behavior every time. And also, we should never ignore dangerous or harmful behaviors. And positive attention must follow the appropriate behavior. We can combine other strategies such as token economies, prompts, or shaping that can strengthen outcomes. And then we also have timeout. So timeout is a temporary removal from a reinforcing environment. It is used for behaviors such as aggression or disruption. Okay, for this one, sa timeout, yung goal natin is not punishment, but to reduce the reinforcement for unsafe or inappropriate behavior. So it is used for attention-seeking, aggressive, disruptive, non-compliant behaviors that are safe but inappropriate. So how it works is that first, identify muna natin si target behavior. For example, the child hits other kids to gain attention. So if there's hitting, then we can select yung type of timeout, if it's non-exclusionary or exclusionary. So based on sa name, non-exclusionary meaning the child will stay in the environment, but we will remove access to the reinforcement. So if, let's say, nag-hit sila, hindi sila alis dun sa circle time, but they will just stop participating in the game and they have to sit quietly. If exclusionary naman, then we will give them a corner time. So, okay, sit in the corner muna for 5 minutes. So for this one, we have to note that it must be immediate. We have to note that timeout must be immediate, consistent, brief, and explained clearly. So after the timeout, the child should return to the activity calmly and receive reinforcement for the appropriate behavior. So why do we use timeout? This one, for timeout, it reduces undesirable behaviors without using physical punishment. So this teaches clients that certain behaviors have consequences, and it can be used in combination rin with token economy, plan ignoring, and prompting. Okay, example, nagto-throw ng toys when asked to clean up. So if the child does this, then we can have him or her sit in a quiet chair for 2 minutes. So magbibigay tayo ng time out. And then afterwards, if they are able to return to the activity showing calm behavior, then we will give reinforcement. So very good, you're able to not throw your toys anymore. So ganun po si timeout. Every time na babalik na si child, if appropriate na ulit yung behavior nila, re-reinforce na po natin siya. Okay. So now we have a sample case. So we're almost done. Konti na lang. So with this one, let's review a case involving si Alex. So this one, he is a 6-year-old with autism spectrum disorder who struggles with transitioning, self-care tasks, and attention-seeking behaviors. So if si Alex, ito yung mga skills niya that we are able to observe. So let's say he has limited independence and self-care skills such as hand washing and dressing. He has frequent yelling and throwing toys for attention and often requires physical and verbal prompts for multi-step tasks. And Alex also has difficulty following group instructions. Our goal is to increase independence in self-care and improve social behaviors in therapy settings. So in short, Alex requires prompts for multi-step tasks and often exhibit tantrums. So the therapeutic goal is to build independence in self-care and improve social behaviors. Oops, sorry. Ayan. So let's try to figure out what BMT is used. So in this example, the final goal is independent hand washing. So makikita natin sa steps, for example, touches soaps with OT assistance, we give reinforcement. Pump soaps with verbal cues, we give reinforcements. Rubs hands for 5 seconds and then rinses and dries hands independently. So basically, the final goal is independent hand washing, but the child is not doing the full sequence yet. We are reinforcing each small steps that they can currently perform while gradually increasing expectations. So meron bang may alam kung ano yung BMT na ginamit natin dito? So you can just type it sa comment section. Wait lang, may nagta-type pa, sorry. Oops. Wait lang po ha. Hindi ko makita yung Zoom. Okay. So yung hint natin dito is Ayan, yung hint natin dito is reinforcing each small step that they can currently perform while gradually increasing expectations. Ayan, may mga nagko-comment. Okay, let's see if sabi nila is shaping. Okay, wait. Let's see. Ayan, okay, so correct, no? So this is shaping. This exact pattern, reinforcing partial attempts, reinforcing better attempts, and reinforcing closer approximations is the very definition of shaping. Okay, next. Okay, here. So with this one, ang target behavior natin is morning dressing routine. So here we put, makikita rin the first step is we put on the shirt with guidance and then reinforce natin. Then step 2, puput on natin yung pants. So reinforce din natin yon. And then after nun, socks naman and then shoes. So makikita natin na step by step siya. So what type of BMT is used here? So magbibigay ako ng hint. This is chaining. So is it forward, backward, or total task? Okay, chaining, forward chaining. Okay, so let's check. Ayan, okay. So forward chaining siya kasi kung makikita natin dito, pinut on niya muna yung shirt, tapos yung pants, and then socks and shoes. So magbibihis tayo yung morning dressing routine natin. Let's say step 1, shirt, and then pants, socks, and shoes. So of course, iba-iba naman yung dressing routine natin. But if we are going to, let's say, discuss yung order, usually ito po siya. But depende rin po yan sa tao, no? So next, ayan, here we will use tokens. Let's say ang goal natin is to complete a hand washing task. So, andito na po yung hint or yung mismong answer. If we are using tokens per completed step and let's say choosing a preferred activity afterwards, ano po kaya yung BMPs na ginamit natin dito? If it's tokens. Okay, yan. So, correct. This is token economy. So, thank you po sa mga sumasagot. Yan. All right. And then, lapit na po tayo matapos. Just two more. Um, okay, if, for example, this one naman, if yung target behavior is yelling or throwing toys to get attention, if we are going to withhold attention for attention-seeking behaviors, ano po kaya yung BMT na ginamit natin? So, ignore po natin siya. Withhold attention or ignore. Wait. Ayan, okay. So, let's see. Okay, so this one is plan ignoring. Okay, very good po. Thank you. For last one, for this one, aggressive hitting during transition. So, andito na yung sagot. Magbibigay tayo ng 2-minute timeout in a safe corner. And then, positive reinforcement and praise when calm na si child and mag-resume tayo ng activity appropriately. So, ang outcome nito is the hitting behavior will reduce and Alex learns that the aggression does not allow continuation or of the preferred activity. Sorry. Okay? Yan. So, nakita ko yung mga answers. Yes, tama po na time out po siya. Okay. So, oops. Ayan. Key takeaways lang po natin, no? So, for shaping and training, effective po ito mga BMTs for teaching complex multi-step skills. Si token economy naman, we use this para mas mag-increase yung motivation and engagement. And plan ignoring and timeout naman po, we use this to reduce maladaptive behaviors and to reduce the maladaptive behaviors safely. So if we are going to implement this ones, we have to have consistency, reinforcement, and of course, individualized planning. Okay, so that's the end of our discussion. I hope na meron po kayo mga natutunan. So thank you very much for listening. So these techniques will help, I hope that these techniques will help us support children more effectively by understanding behavior and teaching new skills and fostering meaningful progress.
All right, thank you for that very informative talk, Teacher Drea. The techniques you shared with us today will definitely help us greatly in managing our child's behaviors. I think it was really helpful for our parents to learn how they can distinguish their child's behaviors and understand why they happen so that they can also respond appropriately. Behavior is such a wide area, and we really appreciate that you were able to make this easier for all of us to understand.
That's right. Thank you, Teacher Drea. All of us definitely learned a lot from your lecture. So now we're gonna open the floor for questions or clarifications that you may have for Teacher Drea. Feel free to raise your hand so we can acknowledge you, or again, you can just send your questions via chat. You can send them to everyone or send a private message. Depends on what you prefer.
So do we have any questions from our audience? Oh, ayan. I think we have a direct message from one of our participants. Oh, wait, there's one question na yun in the chat. Okay, the question, Teacher Jaya, is, sa reward system, hindi ba magiging parang we are pampering the child? So parang pampering daw po ba if we use the reward system?
Okay, hi po. So for this one, if we want the behavior to increase, so if first, let's say, gagamitin natin si token economy. So if first time natin gagamitin siya, bibigay tayo ng reward para lang mas mag-increase yung behavior nila. But if nakikita natin medyo mas nasasanay sila, so daka tayo maglalagay ng parang schedule or system. So para hindi din sila mas masanay or parang pampering, we can use, let's say, every 5 behavior na magagawa mo to, saka lang tayo magbigay ng token. So, does that answer your question po?
Ayan, yes daw pa. Okay, thank you so much for that question. I'll just read another direct message that we got. Okay, so the question was, are punishments recommended to shape a behavior? So, are punishments recommended to shape a behavior? Yung question.
Honestly, punishment is, I won't really recommend physical punishment na yung mga although hindi naman siya just because if it's punishment, it's bad naman. So basically kasi if we use punishment, so this one it can make the client feel unsafe or embarrassed or anxious, which lowers yung participation and motivation ni client. So that's why nag-resort po tayo sa paggamit ng reinforcement. So with this one kasi, if we use punishment, so it doesn't really teach kung ano ba yung desired behavior, but it can cause just fear or anxiety dun sa bata, which is not our goal. Ang goal natin is for them to be independent, and for that to happen, dapat they will learn kung ano ba yung tamang behavior instead na kung ano ba yung dapat lang gawin. So with that one, punishment rin kasi can also lead to negative emotions. So with that one, it can lead to frustration, avoidance, or meltdown, or even withdrawal talaga from the treatment. So possible na hindi na mag-participate or mag-engage yung child. And of course, ayaw din natin na maging medyo matrauma yung child. So mas better if gagamitin natin si reinforcement to help shape the child's behavior. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Teacher Drea, for taking the time to answer our 2 questions. And we definitely appreciate your recommendation about regarding those 2 inquiries that we had from the parents. So before we move to the next portion of this webinar, we just like to check in with you guys. Kamusta na po ba kayo? Baka inaantok na po kayo or gutom na? Or ready pa naman po? Mataas pa po ba ang energy natin? Yun, marami po mga heart, tapos may mga cheer pa. Okay, that's nice. It's nice. Excited to learn more. Kami rin po. We're very excited to hear from our very many speakers. Okay, so thank you po for responding. It was nice na makamusta kayo even if it was just through the reaction buttons on your Zoom.